guys, welcome back to Sandy Cats. So today we're going to be talking about part whatever of the ultimate 4Runner build. And we're going to focus on electrical, air, and lighting. This isn't going to be too long. I will say this, every single time I start a build, I keep saying I'm not going to go crazy on accessories. I just need one or two switches. I'm going to wire it directly to a battery and not worry about it. And every single time I get a rat's nest. Some of you guys may know what that feels like, because tearing apart a rat's nest and figuring out what goes where in a year or two is a pain. So lessons learned. With this one, I went, hardcore fuse boxes, fuse panel thingies. With the other rigs, I did the same thing. I just put on Amazon switch fuse panels. And on this one, I did one Amazon one and one Switch Pros. So I have 12 switches total. I've never used an expensive Switch Pros type or S-Pod system before. I've always used the Amazon $150 ones, and I've yet to have an issue with those. I trust them completely. But I wanted to see what the difference is. And the truth is, like, wiring with the Switch Pros is actually harder for some reason. Actually, for a couple of reasons. So I'm not really getting the benefit of it. However, I haven't really field tested it. So the only real benefit of going Switch Pros or an expensive system, from what I can tell, is that you can control your lighting, meaning that you can dim your lights, you can do strobe functions, party functions, whatever. I'm not sure if I've never used those functions in my life before. I'm not sure if I'm going to care about that, to be honest with you. Other than that, there really isn't much difference. I will say there is one thing that you could do, like an accessory option, where you can, you can make it so, like, if you turn your, high beams on and a light bar turns on with them and so on. But again, those are not options that I'm going to be using, so I'm not sure if it was worth it, the extra investment, but we'll see over time. The other quick lesson I'll tell you right now is do the wiring correct. Do it every single time you wire something, do it that it's going to last for life, and not say I'm going to do it half-assed and then come back and redo it later, because you'll never come back and redo it. And then you're going to wait 3 years, have a rat's nest, some light doesn't work that you need to work, and you'll never find what wire goes where. So just do it right, do it clean, and use all the stuff that you need to go learn on YouTube. I'm not going to get into it, but use heat shrink wherever you can, preferably the heat shrink with that's waterproof and adhesive line, so when it melts, it kind of puts a layer in there. Just use all the proper taps. These guys I kind of started liking for certain applications. I do try to solder everything I possibly can. I really try to make it as future-proof as possible. Wiring is a pain. It takes forever. I just finished the rock lights yesterday. I think installing just 8 rock lights was like 8 hours of wiring work. It sucks. But I know that I'm going to do it right and it'll last forever. So keep that in mind. So with that, I'm going to go right into to show you all the electrical stuff, and then we'll come back and discuss the lighting and so on. So this is what the final product looks like under the hood. This is the Switch Pro system that is wired as such. This is the negative block, and this is my Amazon switch panel. I had to make, I used a bracket, I forgot who it's from, Power Trays, I believe, and I had to customize it because of the fitment that I have with the supercharger. One thing I will tell you is a lot of people use a bracket and use that somehow to cover the fuse box. I think that is insane. Please do not do that. Have easy, super easy access to this fuse box. I've been on a trail recently where I had one fuse blow. That was some kind of accessory fuse. I forgot what it's for even, and it didn't even let me start my engine because that fuse was blown. These things are super computer savvy and they're super integrated. You need to have access to this fuse box. It's essential. And then I got these terminals, I believe from, forgot where I got them from, but I'll leave a link below. They were great. They allowed me to attach everything and keep everything looking super clean. This, of course, these two are going to my winch. So I'm gonna show you my wiring. There's a ton of wiring going on here, but it's all pretty hidden. And the bottom line is, so this is all the wiring going from the passenger side to the driver's side.
And then there's a lot of taps over here for the driver's side. And then they are going in here and coming out over here. Not in the way of this. So again, this build is a little overkill, but for my air and for my electrical, I try to use heat shields and whatever I can near the exhaust and on the underside of the vehicle, because not only am I worried about heat, but I'm also worried about mud and stuff getting in there or rocks chipping it. So this is under the hood, and everything under the vehicle that's not near the exhaust is going to be black. So here's what the inside looks like. This is going to be my scan gauge 3, which tells me everything I need about my transmission and so on. This is an Alpine 309. I'm going to upgrade it to a 509 eventually. This is my Amazon switch panel. And as you can see, I have my transmission fan, my power steering fan. That's a discussion for the future why I need it. Air, front locker, rear locker. And this is my traction control kill switch. Couldn't find a sticker for it, so just put overdrive. And on this side, we have the Switch Pro system, which is basically all the lighting. And then up here up front, I have a ton of lights in my C4 bumper, which looks pretty damn sick. Hard to see from away, but that's what it looks like. It'll look better once we get this rig outside, out of the garage. What I wanted to tell you is, so this is the XL. The purpose of the XL is these things are super bright. These are much less bright, they're fog lights. These are sport lights that are much brighter than the fog lights, and they're all oriented the same way. And then these are the S2 sports, little shorty lights that are facing sideways. The reason why I wanted amber is I'm a big fan of amber wherever I can get it. But in canyons at night, I don't know why, I prefer a white light. And there I need something just facing the center. So the white light for me is more for canyons, and this is for everything else, usually like driving fast in the desert. Not a big fan of windshield lights, and therefore no windshield lights. So in the rear, I put chase lights up there, and I tend to use those a lot when I'm running with people, because if I'm going fast in the desert, I tend to make a lot of dust and people can't see me. I ended up having an extra pair of these flush mount type of S2s, and they were just lying around, so kind of had this idea of putting them inside the plastic bumper, and I think it turned out really, really good. Again, not much use for them except for maybe reversing or so on, but I might turn them to white for reverse lights later, but I just had them lying around, so I put them in. I thought it came out sick. I'm going to be putting a bumper on where I'm going to be cutting the plastic like this so I can retain these lights, and everything will work out really well. So I forgot to discuss one thing while I'm editing the video, and it's why I chose Baja lights. It's because they work. I've had Baja lights for years without any major issues. KCs work really well for me too. Diodynamics I have, but I haven't tested them for years, so I don't know how long they're gonna work over like a 5-10 year period of time. KCs, they don't have the pod style that I wanted for the 4Runner, and therefore that's the reason why I went to Baja. They have the pod style I wanted. The only issue I've ever had with Baja lights is more looks. So this specific Baja light, I think it's been on this rig for like over 5 years. And you can see that the bezel is a little discolored. It's purplish instead of black. That's the only issue. I think they anodize it with like a single coat of anodization versus sun protection you really want to. So if this is the only issue, I'm okay with it. It's super easy to remove this bezel, go out, get a powder coater, anodize, put it back on, and I'm good to go.
So why did I build out the air system? I wanted ARB air lockers because they're tried and true. My first time ever trusting an electric locker was a year ago when I installed an Eaton e-locker in my wife's 4Runner. Prior to that, I have never trusted electric lockers, and hopefully they'll prove that they are awesome, fantastic, and better, less problematic than air lockers. But for now, I want something that I can just rely on. I know when I press the button, it works. I know if it's not working, why it's not working at least, and how to troubleshoot it. versus an electric locker I wouldn't be able to troubleshoot easily. So that's why I put that in. And then why did I put in airbags in the rear? Because two reasons. A, there's going to be two different weights in this vehicle, right? When I'm fully loaded, overland expedition ready, this vehicle is carrying a lot of tools, a lot of stuff. I'm thinking of probably close to 150 to 200 pounds of tools and recovery gear alone, plus the fridge with food and so on. So maybe 400 pounds to 500 pounds between base weight to overlanding weight, plus the rooftop tent. I'm just doing math, maybe even 600 pounds. A lot. Has a Dana 60, so I'm not as concerned, but it's a lot. And that's one reason. I wanted to be able to control the stiffness of the rear coils without having to change them out every time I put in a lot of weight, which really is the only other option. Two, currently it's not running a rear sway bar. I may be able to get some kind of anti-rock type sway bar in there, but as of right now, it's not running a rear sway bar. So I really want to be able to control the stiffness of the coils on the highway, so it kind of acts like a rear sway bar in essence, so I have a little bit less sway. And I want to be able to do that from inside the cab. And that's why I put that system in. I forgot what it's even called. I'll put a link to it below. The idea came from Dirt Lifestyles channel. He did this on his Land Rover, I believe. And I thought it was a great idea. The one issue that I have with this whole system is the install. I didn't realize it when I got it, but the gauge with the switch panel, the buttons is this big behind it. There's another company, I forgot what it's called, that offers a Bluetooth system. So you just have a couple of Bluetooth buttons. I don't like Bluetooth. I don't trust it. I don't want to have my life depend on it. I want something wired. The ideal system would have been a wired gauge that is super thin, like a Switch Pros type of system or something that you could glue on somewhere and it's wired to everything being under the hood. But I couldn't find that.
And this is my air controller, which is a Ride Tech. This is gonna be the left side. This is the right side. If I turn the air on, it's functional, but the airbags aren't attached right now because I'm working on the rear, but it works well. Inflate, deflate. That's pretty much it.
I just kind of want to give you guys of why I did things and give you guys ideas on for yourself if you want to go this route. Again, the most important thing is the reason why this project took forever, honestly forever, is because everything, every wire, every connection, I spent a ton of time making sure it's either fireproof, heat resistant, abrasion resistant. Places where it touches metal, I put 2 or 3 layers of stuff on it because I never want to come back to the wiring again. But with the 2 panels, luckily, if I do have a wiring issue, it should be pretty easy to track down. With the air system, I really spent a lot of time routing it in a way that there should be minimal abrasions, and I protected the air system with plastic wire loom type stuff. Cool. Thank you guys. Actually, before I check out, everybody plugs stuff on YouTube, so I will too. Number 1, subscribe, like my channel, and so on if you can. It does help, I guess, the algorithm, because that's what everybody says. Number 2, check out my website, sandycats.com. That's kind of where it all came from YouTube. The shower idea that I sell now and others, the kinetic ropes that we sell, it's all ideas from YouTube. So that's, if you want to support me, check it out. Follow me on Instagram. And that's pretty much it. We are sponsoring a cleanup event in February after KOH in Lucerne Valley. Check it out on Instagram, and thank you.